How's it going, boys? Today we're going to be talking about Patreon and why I removed my page, why you should as well. Patreon has decided, I have to say this really slowly so we hit the 30-minute mark. Patreon has decided to allow, and not only this, it gets worse, but to allow content of children in an inappropriate manner. So let that sink in. I'm talking really slow so we can hit the 30-second mark and YouTube stop paying attention, you know? Okay, I can say it now. Patreon supports pedophiles. aka minor attracted persons. No, you're a scumbag. You don't get to be called a map. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. Anyway, Patreon essentially supports pedophilia. And we're going to get into this more. I found this through Sydney Watson, one of the few quote-unquote political creators I kind of pay attention to because she isn't insane. So, there's that. If you really care about that. I don't think... look at my Twitter likes, bro. It's pretty obvious. Anyway, I found it through her video, so I recommend, I'll leave it in the description as well, but Patreon, basically, let me just show you the article. So this is one of many articles that were talking about this, and it's a few days ago, so if you haven't heard about it, I wouldn't shock me though, because a lot of the articles aren't mainstream. Anyway, this one reads, this section, a Glassdoor review by a former Patreon employee is going viral on TikTok. Following news, Patreon abruptly fired their entire security team. Very interesting. Keep that in mind. The ex-employee alleged that the company was forcing trust and safety team members to overlook pedophilic content on the platform to protect minor attracted people, aka scumbags who deserve nothing but bad things. On September 8th, Emily Metcalf, a now former security and privacy engineer at Patreon, posted to LinkedIn that the entire Patreon security team had been abruptly let go. So, for better or for worse, I and the rest of the Patreon security team are no longer with the company, Metcalf wrote, soliciting leads on new roles within the industry. Metcalf's post went viral after a screenshot was shared to Twitter by information security lawyer Whitney Merrill. I apologize if I butchered any names there, I don't think I did, but it continues. While people were initially skeptical of the news, Patreon confirmed the news the next day in a statement issued to Cyberscoop, claiming they had decided to cut their internal security team in favor of third-party solutions. The changes made this week will have no impact on our ability to continue providing a secure and safe platform for our creators and patrons, Patreon explained, but you allow pedophiles on the site. But following the abrupt decision, an ex-employee statement from August began to circulate and raise alarm bells among social media users. On August 16th, the former trust and safety specialist at Patreon took to job review platform Glassdoor to allege that Patreon had demonstrated negligence with regards to child safeguarding in a review simply titled Illegal. The former employee who worked at Patreon for over 1 year claimed platform management had been actively encouraging safety staff to overlook pedophilic content unless ordered to do so otherwise by law enforcement. We are being told specifically by management and executives not to take down content that is illegal or was reported as sexual in nature involving minors, unless the police make contact with legal or we have an order by the court, the ex-employee wrote. When others try to inform management that there's an amalgamation of accounts that are selling lewd photographs of what appear to be children, all concerns are dismissed. Disturbingly, the review goes on to note that Patreon higher-ups are advocating for customers who are minor attracted persons, aka pedophiles, and concludes by saying, this is no way to run a company. This is no way to allow children to be exploited on our platform like this. I completely agree with this former Patreon employee. All these higher-ups deserve prison for life. Honestly. I'd say worse, but I can't on YouTube, because I'm a 400 sub channel that YouTube could wipe off the map and nobody really realized. Sydney Watson shows a lot more if you want to see more, but it does continue this article, which we'll read. Under advisement to management, the ex-employee writes, have federal law enforcement investigate the company because there's no way what we're doing is legal. And that's important. The fact that they can say that is concerning. The review first came to widespread attention after being posted to TikTok by Ben Hughes, who slammed Patreon for its lack of child safeguarding measures. Hughes' video quickly wrapped up to over 160,000 views, and 28,000 likes. But another TikToker's experience with Patreon is now at the forefront of discussion, as she claims Patreon had done precisely what the former employee alleged, and ignored her reports of pedophilic content. Parenting, lifestyle, and child safeguarding commenter Sarah Adams, known on the app as Mom Uncharted, interesting, made a video in February of this year discussing her experience attempting to inform Patreon about potentially illegal content. Adams had first been alerted to an Instagram account featuring sexualized children of what she says appeared to be a young girl, so of course Zuckerberg is involved, the alien man, of course. Adams quickly found the account also had a linked Patreon of over 2,000 donors. In her original video posted on February 16th, Adams said the photos had given her human trafficking vibes and she attempted to rally her more than 150,000 followers that Patreon removed the account. Is your blood boiling yet? Are you concerned? You probably should be. Especially if you use Patreon, or any creator uses Patreon. Because if they don't know about this, they really should. Because Patreon supports pedophiles. But it gets worse! It gets worse! Are you shocked? I'm not. So let's just get to the final part of this article I want to show you. Also, if you want to find the full article, I'll leave it linked, of course. Because you gotta cite your sources, kids. Be good journalists or YouTubers that make commentary videos. On February 22nd, Adams reached out to Patreon again after no action had been taken on the page. Of course not. The next day, she received a message from Patreon claiming that the creator of the page was verified as being over the age of 18, and there was no violation found. Let that sink in. Because the owner is a 18-plus pedophile, the account is perfectly fine. That's how Patreon worded this. This is verbatim, by the way. This is coming from the person who received the email. Adams expressed skepticism at the time, reading details in the Patreon age verification process, which at the time did not require a valid government-issued ID. In June, Adams announced Instagram had suspended an account, while at least Zuckerberg, the alien man, did something. But it wasn't until July or August that Patreon finally removed the content on their platform. This is months after. That's crazy. Of course it was. Speaking to Redux, Adams says the account has already been popped back up on Instagram under a different name. Providing the link to Redux for review, the Instagram account appears to be a collection of softcore, I can't say that word, featuring girls who seem to be underage. Additional tag pages within the photos lead to similar accounts, one with even younger looking girls. Of course it fucking is. Adams says that when it was active, the Patreon had locked sections with photos available only to those subscribed donors. My assumption was that if that is what is displayed on the Instagram account, then the Patreon must be worse. Adams, who educates her followers on ways to protect children in the digital age, says child safeguarding by social media platforms has been lacking across the board. I agree. While this was the only example she has personally witnessed on Patreon, she knows that other TikTokers have been exposing similar disturbing incidents they've come across. So, just to summarize everything, not only did Patreon take about 6 months after it was brought up, after already, defending pedophilic content on their platform and allowing it unless the law got involved, which is very interesting. After that, it was not only, obviously, a different page, but a similar page was brought up and still on Patreon. But their age verification process, which recently I think changed to requiring an ID, so at least there's that. But because the page was verified as owned by an adult, that makes it okay in Patreon's bot eyes, because they only probably use a bot to verify that. Obviously, every social media site does. So YouTube, it probably exists on there too at some point. But Patreon, they acknowledge the pedophilic content. They allow the pedophilic content, and they verify the age of the owner of the page, even though it's children in the pictures and the videos of God knows what. Like I said, check out Sydney Watson's video if you want to see like a little bit of it censored, obviously, because YouTube. But this is just... when I saw that video, bro, I immediately took down my Patreon page. I made a tweet. You can go see when I saw the video. I immediately took down my Patreon page, deleted Patreon. I refuse to support a platform that supports pedophilic content. Patreon can burn in the fucking ground 7 feet under. Not 6 feet, 7. Add an additional foot. Patreon, it can go fuck itself. With that being said, let me know your thoughts. Hopefully, this will get picked up by more people, but probably not. Subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.